Hello, gorgeous. Thanks for joining Conversations with Credibility Christi. I have a special guest, Steve Hanthorn. He is a marketing guru. I've known Steve for many years, and he has worked at the top ad agency powerhouses in the country, from Chicago to Dallas to Fort Worth, and most recently retired from Warren Douglas here in Fort Worth, and now is working freelance with copywriting, still allowing others to tap into his genius. So I wanted to talk to you specifically. Hey, thank you so much for being here. It's so good to see you. So you came to mind immediately when I was thinking of what expert did I want to talk to next, because one, just your marketing experience and the level of accounts, from the highest level national accounts all the way down to, you know, smaller accounts, mom and pop, more like my business. And so for me, I've really been struggling during this pandemic, like every business owner, in how do you reach out and how can you communicate without alienate your client right now?
Well, it's a slippery slope, obviously, and there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer for a brand. But I would say that the most important thing that any brand can do during a situation like this is to find their most relevant voice, while also being as sympathetic and in tune with people's situations as possible. So a larger brand can afford to go on the air or go social with just simply a feel-good, motivationally supportive message that doesn't have any, you know, inherent offer built in. Smaller brands probably won't have the resources to be, you know, that generous with their time and money, and instead need to find a way to break through and give people a reason to listen and then to react. We've seen a lot of that in action in the past weeks with restaurants, for example, that suddenly find themselves without any customers in their stores. So what do? Well, they, you know, quickly regrouped and offer curbside service, to-go service, pickup service. You know, that makes sense. If my favorite restaurant is closed down, I can still eat their food. I just can't do it there. So that sort of, you know, checks that box, right? Other businesses where crowds are inherent in, you know, in the offering, a bar, a musical venue, a cruise line, an amusement park, a sporting event, a sporting venue, they really have the weakest hand in this. They really truly can only attempt to let people know that they're still there and they're going to come back, hopefully. So it's a tough spot for some brands to be in. Well,
and for retailers, you know, for us with our brick and mortar, you know, that's a big challenge.
Absolutely. You know, probably as relevant an example that where people can't go and gather and browse and shop. So much like restaurants, I believe you offered some, you know, some sort of distant shopping, and also have a robust online presence, which, you know, is a great way to maintain. You just have to remind people that you're out there and that you're open, and, you know, that's the time to, you know, get creative. You know, how am I going to get eyeballs on me, and find a way to bring people to my website and to get them to look at me and consider me for something they might need, or don't even know they need, but they want. So therein lies the trick. You know, how far are you willing to go to be creative, to break out, while still maintaining your brand essence, because you don't want to do anything that harms your brand. You don't want to be, you know, too flippant, too cavalier. This is a serious deal. So always be sympathetic, always let your audience know that you understand what they're going through, because you're going through some of it too. But in the meantime, here's a way I might be able to make it easier for you. You know, so in your case, it's you know, a gift, a fashion item that you might need for an upcoming occasion and the like.
Yeah, that's one thing that we did with our social media is we filmed a video basically of what does retail reopen look like right now. And so, you know, I had the camera from a client's perspective of us opening the door, putting hand sanitizer on. This is what you can expect to come back into retail reopen. And, you know, for us, I said in there as well in the video is that, you know, it's a weird time for all of us, and we're somewhere in the middle. You know, as being a business owner and being a retailer and being here for our clients, you know, our safety zone is, you know, we don't think that this is completely over, but then we don't think that everybody should be tightly sheltered in place. So we're somewhere in the middle. And so being there with our online presence, for those who aren't ready to come back and play with us, as we call it, or, you know, for those that are, we've got our N95 masks, we've got our hand sand, and meet you at the door with it. And so
those new safety protocols are really sort of the price of admission now, aren't they? You know, they reassure people that, you know, within this pandemic, you're following the rules, and that you can engage, you know, safely with your brand. You know, at whatever level makes you feel safe. You know, here in Texas, you know, we're a little bit more buck wild, aren't we? And, you know, some people, you know, don't think it's as important to wear a mask. Others disagree, you know, so as long as you're showing that you're playing by the rules or acknowledging those that want to, you know, that's great. You can check that box and know that you're, you know, you're doing what you need to do.
So I'm curious as to, on the ad agency level, within their own walls, like what are they telling each other? How are they coping themselves with marketing budgets being slashed and, you know, everybody using the P word, pivot, and in their business and strategies? What does that look like? What do agencies tell themselves?
Well, I would imagine their first reaction was like, holy crap, what are we going to do? And you know, for many of them, they probably looked long term and decided if and when they had to make, you know, some personnel moves to survive, like any business does. But in the meantime, you know, you would marshal your resources and reach out to clients and find ways for them to stay out in front. Because the worst possible thing you can do in a lot of brands' cases is to go dark, because if you go dark, you're just going to sort of be pushed out of a consumer psyche and just not be thought of as much, unless you're a, you know, just a monthly necessity or something. So you want to try to maintain some form of visibility. So an agency would be well served to do that, obviously, and find ways for their clients to advertise during this very, very challenging time. Again, that R word I've been using, relevance. You know, hey, Mr. Client, you can be relevant in this way by offering a discount for your services or for your monthly bill, or in the case of a gym, or insurance. We're not driving as much, so perhaps your car claim can be reduced a little bit, and I know that many of the big carriers have done that. My gym quit drawing you know, their monthly stipend from us because of the fact that we couldn't get in anymore, and, you know, I appreciate that. You know, so that's a gold star. That's a win for them when they do that. You know, and just finding ways to try to help a client through this very difficult time. Social media is an integral part of that, and because you can do things instantly almost, and for very, very little money. And you can put out messages that say, we're still here, we still want to bring you XYZ in terms of product, we're not going anywhere. You know, there's a reassuring message that your brand will still be there, hopefully, and that they're sharing in what you're going through, because we're all in this. This is a all ages concert. All are welcome at this thing. Unfortunately, that it isn't very selective in who it might pick. So I think that's probably what most agencies have done, and some are better positioned and healthier than others to do it well, and that's just the nature of the business. Marketing takes it on the chin during times like these, whether it's a pandemic via a virus or whether it's an economic downturn. What's the first thing to go? Cut advertising. What? No. And sometimes you're cutting off your nose to spite your face, because you need that income that advertising generates, but it's the easiest top line deduction that a client can make, the easiest cut that they can make. And we're just going to go dark. We'll save that money right off the bat, because they have other things that they need to pay for to survive: rent, bills, payroll, that juggernaut of twice monthly payroll, trying to keep people whole. It's a challenge. But the shrewd, smart, savvy thinkers, the best of the creative minds can usually find ways to benefit themselves and their clients. And they really sharpen their pencil and put their mind to it.
So to touch on what you mentioned earlier when you were saying how brands should go about and say, we're here for you and we hope, which is huge for a lot of us small businesses. So should you be candid about struggling with your business, or should you just go all in? We're going to be here for you as even though you're having heart palpitations on, can you make the next payroll?
I don't think it's wise for a brand to share any fear or weakness that they might have. I think you should always put your best foot forward and to remain as positive as possible until you just simply can't. And unfortunately, you see some restaurants slipping under the waves because they just simply can't keep going, paying their bills, paying their employees, and it's heartbreaking. It really is. But no one really likes a pity party, and I guarantee that no matter how bad your situation might be, even if it is losing your business, and I'm certainly not making light of that at all, there are others that have it worse. So I would always recommend to a client to stay up on that high road and just again put your best face and foot forward and be as relevant as you possibly can, while also being sympathetic to the situation and others in it, and knowing that showing that you understand it, and letting people know how you can make a difference for them during it, whether it's a reduction in a bill, whether it's a little bit of financial help, or whether it's just getting access to what you have and that they want or need in a really, really safe and easy way. And again, it just goes back to clever marketing. How do you break through? How do you get as many eyeballs on you as you possibly can? For me, it's humor, clever, creative, something that makes me laugh and go, oh wow, that's pretty good. And I want to see it again, and I want to talk about it and share it with others. That's how it just really, really starts to pop for you. I had read that brands that were doing just the Good Samaritan messaging of just sort of branded, no real offer, but we're all in this together, those spots aren't doing any better than just their regular spots. People appreciate them, they see them, but they're just sort of whereas spots that find a way to really, really come at you differently for next to no money are just testing off the charts. So that's a win. That's a win for a brand that can do a whole lot with just very little. And I would recommend any brand to consider that. You know, I would just like to add that no matter what size your brand is, when it comes to marketing, you know, the key is to really break through and to grab eyeballs and get attention. And then that's when I encourage a brand to really let yourself or your agency think outside the norm and come back with ideas that will obviously showcase and highlight your brand in its best light, but also that might be a little bit unexpected and might be a little bit different. A really great current example is a spot that's just testing to the moon, a series of spots actually, for Mint Mobile. And Mint Mobile has Ryan Reynolds. Many people know him from lots of rom-coms, but he's probably best known for being Deadpool currently. And the guy just has an incredible wit about him, just a natural comedian. And he comes on in an iPhone self-filmed manner, like we're seeing so much of, as if he's at a Zoom meeting.
Hence today here.
And starts to talk about the big production commercial they were working on before the thing. He doesn't even say it, he just looks nervous before the thing happened. And here's what we were going with. And then he runs just a bunch of ridiculous stock footage of tigers roaring and sirens and all this stuff, and then it cuts off. He goes, that's as far as we got. So now we had to do something else. And he goes on to present the Mint Mobile story in the form of a slideshow with his voiceover. It probably cost him like $1.95 to produce. I mean, it's cheap, but it's incredibly charming and witty. Yes, they have an A-list Hollywood star at the helm of it, and that makes a little bit of a difference. You know, girls like him, guys want to have a beer with him. He's the whole enchilada and sides. So that gives him a lot of it. But still, the basic pieces of what he's doing are there for everyone to study and learn from. A little bit of wit and charm, unexpected visuals, silliness, fun, but staying on message. A lot of times will get you a reaction that you will find surprising for not, the normal big spend of a full-on, Hollywood A-list celebrity commercial production. It's a very, very challenging time to be a marketer. Whereas it normally is anyway, because there's so many ways to communicate, there's so many ways today to reach customers, and we're just bombarded, with messaging. It's almost impossible to take it all in. So for those that can find a way to break out and to appear to be, different in a moment when everyone's looking for, reassurance, hope, help, or a diversion. That's why Netflix is really booming, right? Because nothing is better than a really, really great movie or serial to take your mind off things. Advertising can play a little bit of that role as well. So you don't have to be Ryan Reynolds. You don't have to be an A-list celebrity to come up with that lightning in a bottle idea that will get you noticed and get you clicks. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to have an A-list celebrity on your team, but it isn't necessary. It isn't mandatory either.
Well, it seems like with reopening starting nationwide that it's even more delicate getting your message out because of not only the safety issue, but now it's so politically charged, and
yes.
People that are so against stay at home, shelter in place, and people that are so still there with it. And are there any words that you should or shouldn't use in your messaging to not alienate anyone?
It's hard to give specifics without just suddenly turning into a brainstorming session.
Right.
But if you can, utilize social, get friends and family involved. Do you have an artsy craftsy friend? Do you have a creative wannabe stand-up comedian friend? Do you have someone that's a halfway decent musician? Put them to work. Get them on camera and do something zany, and then push it to friends, family, you know, throw a few pennies at Google. They're more than willing to take your money and you know, for behalf of a paid search. And you know, you're at least out there, you know, showing that marketing-wise you're alive, you're surviving, and you can't wait to sell someone something.
So you think it's okay to take a little bit of a risk and have fun right now with everybody so hypersensitive?
Absolutely, without being tacky or insensitive. Maybe, you know, poke a little bit of gentle fun at yourself in some way that isn't virus connected. And just don't be afraid to show that side of yourself or your brand, all while being sympathetic, but yet pushing that relevance of, here's how I can make a difference in your life. You know, whether it's a delicious scented candle or a really, really thoughtful, unique gift, you know, or a great looking new blouse or shirt and tie or jacket combo for when things do open back up, you'll be ready. Sort of that post-apocalyptic appearance look. How are you going to look when we come out of this? You know, Color Basis can help you with that. So.
We're already trying to get our clients in the mind thought of ditching the yoga pants and the pajama pants and testing out those other garments. Do they still fit?
That's
and
right.
if they don't,
I was worried today when I was putting on these, you know, my better clothes. Oh gosh, I hope these still fit. And luckily they did. So they say we've all gained about 4 pounds during this. Yeah.
Okay, so times that, I've gained a lot more than 4. I'd be happy with 4, but great information today. Thank you so much for your expertise,
You're very welcome.
Your knowledge, and I feel motivated to get my brain thinking of some new ways to get out there and get our message out as well. So let me know, what did you learn from this? What pivots or changes might you make with your marketing program? Ask any questions, anything below. Steve's amazing and it's great information, and I can forward those to him. Would love to hear from you. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for next week.